The city is Detroit, but they come from all of Michigan. They come to see professional football. They come to demand performance from those that play. And since the birth of the game, their team, the Detroit Lions, has reflected the character of the area, giving its supporters nothing less than total dedication to achievement. The Detroit Lions are now in a renaissance. It began in 1967 when Joe Schmidt was made head coach. Though 67 and 68 were losing seasons, the Lion organization showed the skill and patience to draft well and develop young talent, producing a winner in 69. In 1970, Joe Schmidt would forge another winner for the Motor City. While their 10 victories were evidence enough, the story of the 1970 Lions was more than a story of 10 victories. It was the story of a group of men who refused to yield to the odds, refused to let destiny be their executioner. It took 15 games to finally bury the Lion. It happened in a blur of action on a December day in Dallas, only fingertips away from an even happier ending. But a day in Dallas cannot erase an entire season, a season in which the Lions showed the entire football world that theirs was a team with talent, a team with pride, a season in which the Detroit Lions matured, came of age, and almost roared the loudest. The Lions opened their season at Green Bay against Phil Bingston's Packers. Joe Schmidt chose number 19, the veteran and talented Bill Munson, as his quarterback. But the story of the Lions' first game, ironically, was contained in the Lombardi lexicon, run to daylight. Number 42, Altie Taylor, ran to daylight to begin what would be a brilliant season for the sophomore from Utah State. Number 24, Mel Farr, ran to daylight behind the equally brilliant Lions offensive line. Nick Eddy and number 38, Bill Triplett, ran to daylight in reserve roles. And trying only to run out the clock, Greg Landry ran a quarterback sneak 76 yards to daylight, the longest run of the season, and the longest Lion run since Hunchy Hornsmeyer went 85 against these same Packers 19 years ago. Defensively, the Lions were superb, not giving up a first down until midway through the third period. It was an awesome display that gave notice to the rest of the league that the 1970 Lions had picked up where they left off in 69, recording their fourth shutout in their last 14 games, 40-0. Detroit's second game and home opener was against a future champion, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Lions squeezed the big orange machine dry. Lem Barney's controversial punt return sparked Detroit to its second victory, 38-3. The Lions' third game before a nighttime national TV audience brought the Chicago Bears to Detroit. Spotting Chicago a 7-0 halftime lead, the Lions went on to muzzle the Bears 28-14. Dick LeBeau's interceptions set up the running of Taylor and Farr as Detroit's offense, which had often been accused of being less than potent, was averaging 350 yards per game and would finish second in the NFL in total points. Bill Munson had his finest game as a Lion, showing poise under pressure and executing flawlessly. The Lions were now 3-0. In their fourth game at Washington, however, Sonny Jurgensen finally tamed the Lions. Detroit was flat, unable to defense Charlie Taylor, and the Lions came home 3-1, tied for the Central Division lead. Through the first part of their season, the Lions had shown two basic strengths. The first was their running game, made possible by one of the best offensive lines in pro football. At center was number 54, All-Pro Ed Flanagan, in his 6th year from Purdue. Leading the sweeps from his left guard position was number 63, Chuck Walton, the 4-year man from Iowa State. At right guard was the equally efficient number 68, Frank Gallagher. At tackles were number 73, Roger Scholes, in his 8th year from Maryland, and number 76, Rockne Freitas, only in his 3rd year. Freitas is an awesome blocker and led the way for the Lions runners. They call him Marvelous Mel, and in 1970, Mel Farr was truly marvelous. For the first time since his rookie year, Farr's knees carried him through most of the season, while his legs led him through enemy lines. Striding, often gliding through defenders, Farr's deceptive inside power and outside speed made him a threat on any type of play. And when there's only one man between Farr and 6 points, it's no contest. Runner, blocker, and receiver par excellence, Mel Farr, in only his 4th year, has become the Lions' pause, without which they would be crippled. Reverse number 24's jersey and you have Alty Taylor. Like Farr, Taylor is an exciting runner, but the two have distinctively different styles. Farr is the silky smooth sword. Taylor, the epitome of an old razor blade. Nicking, scraping, cutting around defenses like a scared rabbit. Alty Taylor has more than lived up to his billing as the top draft choice in '69, and in 1970 was an integral part of Detroit's attack. Farr's 700 yards and Taylor's 670 gave the Lions a 1-2 backfield punch that throughout the year was able to control games, the key to many of their 10 victories. The great strength of the 1970 Lions was their defense, led by Captain Mike Lucci and defensive coach Jim David. Detroit's 11 hungry Lions growled, prowled, and stalked down their enemy. The Rams have their fearsome foursome, the Vikings their purple gang, but in Detroit, it's the blue meanies. Tackles Alex Karras, Dan Goich, and number 82, Jerry Rush, came from the inside. From left end came number 84, Joe Robb. When Robb was injured early in the year, rookie Jim Mitchell, number 83, took over without losing a beat. Standing above the rest, however, was number 74, right end Larry Hand, a deadly quarterback killer who proved the axiom that 3 hands are better than 1. The Lion linebackers are the heart of their defense. Number 55, Wayne Walker, and number 53, Mike Lucci, total 22 years of experience at their trade. 22 years of head-knocking, body-crunching tackles. Number 50, Paul Newmoff, has only 3 years behind him, but played as if he had 22. and helped Detroit's defense to be #1 in the NFC against the run. The Lions' secondary, too, was usually around the ball, and twice per game, they caught it. At safeties were Wayne Rasmussen, Mike Wieger, and number 48, Tom Vaughn. At left corner was the irrepressible Lem Barney, number 20. At right corner, number 44, Dick LeBeau, became the NFL's active lifetime interception leader. At age 33, LeBeau had perhaps his greatest season ever, as he led the league with 9 thefts, while spearheading the Lion defense for the 1970 season. It was this secondary that helped Joe Schmidt beat Blanton Collier's Cleveland Browns in the Lions' 5th game. In the 50s, this game was a grudge match for the championship, but today, it was no game at all. 5 Detroit interceptions were the difference. Mike Wieger had 2, 1 for his first career touchdown steal. Larry Hand played a screen pass perfectly and recorded the 4th touchdown theft of his career. The Lions rebounded from their loss to the Redskins and were now 4-1. Dick Butkus and the Bears were the Lions' 6th opponent. As always, it was an uphill struggle against Mr. Butkus in Chicago. But the Lions clawed back, and with some lucky bounces, were able to salvage a 16-10 win. Errol Mann's 3 field goals were the margin of victory, as the Lions' offense began to suffer a slowdown. Home again for their 7th game, the Lions took an early lead against their co-leader, the Vikings. But Bill Munson, who had thrown but 1 interception till now, threw 3, and the Lions suffered their 2nd loss of the season and dropped to 2nd place in the tough Central Division. Only a hermit in the Sahara doesn't know what happened in New Orleans on November the 9th. Errol Mann kicked Detroit into a 1-point lead with only 11 seconds left. But another kicker by the name of Tom Dempsey booted the little brown object 63 yards through the uprights as time ran out. With his kick, Dempsey reached football immortality. With their loss, the Lions were nearing oblivion in their quest to make the playoffs. Heartbreak followed heartbreak as Detroit failed to beat the Vikings again in their 9th game. Throughout most of the game, however, the Lions had the lead. Bobby Williams' 85-yard kickoff return opened the game with a blast, while the defense contained the explosive Viking passing attack. On offense, Greg Landry started his first game. Landry had looked good, helping Detroit to a 20-17 lead late in the game. Then it happened. A kick in New Orleans. Now a catch in Minnesota. One big play, and seconds later, the Vikings had dealt Detroit their 3rd straight loss, 24-20. Any hopes of postseason participation now seemed lost forever. In defeat, however, the Lions had found another young star. Greg Landry had done well in his first start against the Vikings. He would go on to perform miracles. That he is talented is obvious, but it was Landry's spirit that seemed to hold the Lions together, that seemed to symbolize the team as a whole, a spirit reflected in his style. This, then, is the Massachusetts Kid. 24 years, tall, strong, and exciting. Greg Landry has a long career ahead. He ran for 350 yards, passed for 1,000 more to 3 excellent young receivers. There was number 25, Earl the Pearl McCullough, in his 3rd year from USC, youth. There was number 49, Larry Walton, in his 2nd season from Arizona State, youth. And there was big number 88, all-pro tight end Charlie Sanders. In only 3 years, Charlie Sanders has become the best in the business, the standard by which all will be measured in the future. Why? Watch. Like Greg Landry, Charlie Sanders' style reflected his never-quit attitude as the Lions, with a 5-4 record, entered the final phase of their season. With 3 straight losses, the Lions flew home from Minnesota with almost no hope of making the playoffs. It was obvious that they would have to win each of their last 5 games, 4 of which would be against division leaders, and 1 against the Packers. The Lions had the toughest schedule in the NFL, and as they boarded the plane, they must have thought about the task that lay ahead. Like most NFL teams, the Lions fly the friendly skies of United Airlines. Thus it was that the Lions entered their 10th game against Dick Nolan's 49ers, the second of 4 straight division leaders Detroit would face. Their backs were literally against the wall. Everyone wondered whether the Massachusetts Kid would be able to snatch the Lions from the edge of their tomb. Greg Landry answered their anxiety with his greatest pro game ever. His passes penetrated the 49ers' goal 3 times, while the Lions' secondary refused to allow John Brody's spirals to cross their end zone. Detroit won their first crucial game, 28-7. 1 down, 4 to go. 4 days later, it was Thanksgiving, and the AFC West leaders, the Raiders. The game began as if it were Christmas, with the Lions playing Santa, and 2 quick Raider touchdowns made it 14-0 in the first quarter. It looked like destiny had finally bagged the Lion for good. But somebody had forgotten to tell Greg Landry and his 39 other teammates. For the next 3.5 periods, the Detroit Lions slowly, methodically, and amazingly turned the game and their season right around. Landry hit Taylor for their first score, and Charlie Sanders' ragdoll touchdown catch tied the score at halftime. While the defense shut out Oakland from the first quarter on, Marvelous Mel did his thing. and Charlie Sanders did his for the second time, and Detroit took a 21-14 lead. It would be a reserve, however, who would make the key play of the game. Number 85, Chuck Hughes, turned a do-or-die 3rd and 9 into a 43-yard catch that set up Mel Farr's insurance score and gave the Lions their most important win of the season, 28-14. Then, under a full afternoon moon, the Cardinals and Coach Charlie Winter came to town. The Lions sent Winter home a loser. They sent him home a loser on the right foot of Errol Mann. They sent him home a loser on the right foot of rookie punter Herman Weaver, whose towering kicks caused trouble and allowed Mooney, Goich, Cottrell, Yarbrough, Cotton and company to cover and recover. They sent Winter home a loser by holding his two powerful setbacks, Johnny Rowland and MacArthur Lane, to just 36 total yards between them. By keeping constant pressure on the Cardinals quarterback Jim Hart. And by giving something more than was required, as did Wayne Walker on his touchdown saving tackle of fleet John Gilliam. When it was all over, the Lions had a 16-3 victory, their 3rd straight over a division leader. The bright lights of Hollywood and the Los Angeles Rams greeted the Lions in their 13th game. The Rams became Detroit's 9th victim, and the spotlight fell on this man, Heisman Trophy winner, rookie Steve Owens. Owens replaced Farr early in the game and went on to lead the Lions to victory. Mitchell, Landry, Hughes, and now Owens. The Lions had shown their reserve strength to be one of their greatest assets. Defensively, the Lions made the crucial plays, with their linebackers able to contain the Rams' strength, their short passing game. When the final gun sounded, Mike Lucci hugged the game ball and walked off with a 28-23 impressive win over the Rams. The Lion remained safe for another night. 4 down, 1 to go. All Detroit waited and watched the Lions take on the Packers at home. If they lost, it was their last game. If they won, they would have one more. Poetic justice dominated the game. The Lions scored 20 points, and number 20, Lim Barney, scored or set up all 20. They opened the season with a shutout, and they closed with one, both against the Packers. It was a fitting climax to an unusual regular season. As Barney capped off a brilliant afternoon, the Giants were losing to the Rams, thus avoiding the necessity of a coin flip. The Lions were in the playoffs, and their loyal fans, who had gone 13 years without anything to celebrate, tore the rafters off old Tiger Stadium as New Year's Eve came early to the Motor City. Joe Schmidt stood in the Dallas sun and thought about how his team had survived. They had won with veterans, and they had won with youth. They had won with tackling, and they had won with blocking. They had won by passing, by catching, and by running. They had won by stopping the run, by stopping the passer, and by stopping the pass. But most of all, they had won with hustle and desire. Even in the playoff, especially in the playoff, They fought and clawed and struggled right down to their last play of the game, 15 yards away from a possible championship. So the 1970 Detroit Lions can feel no shame. And as they watched the final curtain close, they remembered happier moments of the week before. They remembered that theirs was a team that fought destiny to the end. With top draft choices such as Bob Bell, Charlie Weaver, and Dave Thompson, the Detroit Lions will roll into 1971 confident that they may once again have the loudest roar of all.